Hey guys, what is going on? My name is xWhisperr, and today what I have for you is a story video, and I thought this was really funny when this happened a couple days ago, because this was pretty recent that this happened, but I think I should just get into the story because I don't really know how to introduce it, so yeah. So 2 days ago, one of my real life friends was talking to me through Facebook, and he was talking about going to a Smash tournament that evening, and he asked me if I wanted to go, and I really couldn't work out, getting a ride there, because it was so late in the evening. That's when the event was being hosted. It was like 6:30 to 11. And so I really couldn't figure out, how I would get a ride just because it was such a last notice thing. But I actually worked it out with the host because the host lived like 5 minutes away from me. Him and I talked, and I told him that I'd bring a setup in exchange for, coming to the tournament if he could pick me up. And he said that would be 100% fine. And I told him that I'd help set up and pack up. And so I went to the tournament, and I actually had a really good time playing Smash and interacting with some of the people. There were a couple of people who had like real sponsors, and it was kind of crazy, getting to talk with them because they were really good players. The tournament was like Smash 4 and Melee, but you know what, besides the point, at the end of the tournament, me and the host and my friend, who, got a ride from the host too, we helped clean out the venue and make sure everything was cleaned up, which it wasn't that bad just because everybody was like really respectful there. The only thing was that there were some pizza crumbs left after, all the people who had eaten pizza because somebody had brought pizza and was selling it there, and we had to, move some of the tables and stuff back from where we had setups, and then we got in the car and we got ready to go home. So we drop off my friend, and then we start heading home, and him and I start talking about, getting the stream up because there was internet there and they were planning on streaming, but they couldn't really get it all set up. For some reason the Elgato capture wasn't working, and they just couldn't get everything working, and I told him that I could help maybe with like layout design, and maybe I could help get it working next time, and he said yeah, and I said if I do that, maybe, it wouldn't be a big deal since you only live like 5 minutes away, so go ahead and pick me up, whenever there's a tournament, and he said yeah, it's not a problem. And so we kind of worked out that, he would pick me up if I could help set up the stream and help run the tournament, and I said, that would not be a big deal. So after I get out of the car, and tell him thanks for giving me a ride and that it was a great tournament and that he was a good host, I walk up to my driveway because I didn't have him pull into my driveway directly because my driveway is kind of a mess. There's like a bunch of things in there, and so it's very hard to navigate around, and a lot of people struggle with it whenever they first get into it. So I told him just to, park down at the side of the road, and I'll just walk up my driveway because it's a really long driveway. And so I walked up my driveway and the lights aren't on, and I'm like, oh shit. So keep in mind that it's about midnight at this point because the tournament didn't get over until 11, and then we had to, clean everything up, and that took us about 40 minutes, so it was about 11:40 to get into the car, and then it took us about 15 minutes to, get to my house and drop me off. So it's about, midnight at this point, and I see that all the lights are off, and I go to check the door, and yep, it's fucking locked. I got fucking locked out. So I knock on the door, and the dogs start barking up a storm, and I'm just praying that, hopefully my sister comes and answers the door and that she's still awake and that the lights in her room were just, dim, because I could see the lights in her room were still on, but they looked really, really dim, so I wasn't sure if she was awake or not. And after several times of knocking on the door and not getting an answer, I waited for the dogs to stop barking, and then I went out and sat in the driveway. So I sit down in my driveway and I pull out the tablet that I had brought with me to the tournament just in case I had gotten bored, which, spoiler alert, didn't actually happen. It was a lot of fun. And I open up Telegram, and thank God I was so connected to my internet from the distance I was, and I messaged one of my real life friends, and I was like, yo, can you call my mom and my sister, because I'm locked out of my house, and I think they're both asleep, and I want you to try and wake them up, because the spare key wasn't there, and they fucking locked the door on me. So my friend calls my sister and my mom, and he doesn't get an answer from either of them, and he messages me back on Telegram, and he's like, yeah, I didn't get an answer from either of them, and I'm not really sure what you're going to be able to do. And I was like, well, that's fucking great. And he was like, yeah, I'm sorry. And I was like, it's not a problem. So I sit there in the driveway for, a few minutes, messaging back a couple of my friends, telling them that I'm outside and that I'm probably going to have to sleep outside, and that I would probably, have to go sleep on the trampoline or something like that. And I was like, you know what, maybe I'll just go around out back just to see if, maybe there's lights there at the very least. So how my house works is there's, the normal house section, and then there's two sections on either side that lead to the back, and one of them is currently, fenced off with one of my mom's boyfriend's, stuff. He has, a fence up there so that way people can't get in through that way. And then on the other side, we have, an above-ground pool that we have set up and that we use to swim during the summer, and then you kind of, take it down, or at least, get all the water out of it at the end of summer. And that area has a fence that leads to the backyard, and so I just opened the fence because that fence is able to be opened, unlike the one on the other side. and there's some lights back there, and I could actually see back there. So I go over there, and I sit down, and I continue to message my friends for a couple minutes, and then I look through my sister's window, and I realize that she's actually sleeping, and her bed is, you know, like, right next to the window. And I was like, oh, maybe I could wake her up. So I begin to lightly tap on the window, and her cat is actually laying in the windowsill and can see me, and her cat keeps, like, trying to rub up against the windowsill because it wants attention, but I can't, like, pet it, which is kind of funny. And so I just continue to knock, and eventually I kind of start with a quiet voice, and I just start whispering, you know, like, June, because that's my sister's name. And I just keep whispering June, and I get, you know, louder and louder until finally she wakes up and she sees me, and she's like, Victor? And I'm like, yeah, it's me. I got locked out. Can you open your sliding glass window door? And she was like, oh, yeah, because how the house works is there's a sliding glass door in the living room that allows you to go into her room, and then there's a sliding glass door on the other side of her room that connects out to the backyard. And so she just walks over to the other side of her room and just opens the sliding glass door and was like, what's going on? And I was like, I got locked out. I told mom that I wasn't going to be home until late, and she still locked me out, and she was like, oh, I'm sorry. And I was like, yeah, you can go ahead and go back to bed now. Thanks for opening the door. And she was like, yeah, not a problem. And I was like, I was probably going to have to sleep outside. And she kind of like chuckled, and then she just went back to bed. So at that point, I take everything into the house, and I drop off everything that I need to, and I just take my stuff, and I go into my room, take off my shoes, and I just fucking lie down, because I'm so exhausted. And, fucking, yeah, that's the end of the story. I just, you know, lay down, and I tell everybody through Telegram that I'm, like, alright, and that I'm, you know, inside my house safely, and I'm not gonna have to sleep outside, and they were all glad. And then I just fucking, you know, Skype called with a friend for a few minutes, and then I just fucking passed out, because I was just so tired. But anyways, I thought you guys would enjoy that story because it was kind of funny that I got locked out after my first fucking local, and I thought it was really funny that that happened. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. My name's xWhisperr, and I'm out. Peace.